Why, God? And why them? Lamentations 2. The Lord is like an enemy. He has swallowed up Israel. He has swallowed up Haiti. He has swallowed up all her palaces and destroyed her strongholds. The entire government infrastructure was destroyed. He has multiplied mourning and lamentation. He has laid waste his dwelling like a garden and destroyed his place of meeting. The Lord has made Zion forget her appointed feasts and her Sabbaths. In his fierce anger, he has spurned both king and priest. The Lord has rejected his altar and abandoned his sanctuary. He has handed over to the enemy the walls of her palaces. They have raised a shout in the house of our Lord. The Lord determined to tear down the wall around Zion. He stretched out a measuring line and did not withhold his hand from destroying. He made ramparts and walls lament. Together they wasted away. Her gates have sunk into the ground. Their bars he has broken and destroyed. Her king and her princes are exiled among nations. The law is no more. God, protect them from the lawlessness that is now upon them. And her prophets no longer find visions of God. The elders of the daughters of Zion sit on the ground in silence. They have sprinkled dust on their heads and put on sackcloth. The young women of Jerusalem have bowed their heads to the ground. My eyes fail from weeping. I am in torment within. My heart is poured out on the ground because my people are destroyed, because my children and infants faint in the streets of the city. They say to their mothers, "Where is bread and wine?" as they faint like wounded men in the streets of the city, as their lives ebb away in their mother's arms. Only in so many of the stories I've heard, the mother's arms are no longer there. When I read these words earlier this week, I cried. Even the bodies strewn on every other block seem to be calling for help. A dead schoolgirl lies against a fallen metal gate with her arms spread wide, calling silently for the embrace of her mother. But her mother, too, is dead, so there is no hug and nobody to claim the girl's decomposing remains. This is a picture of Cindy Terrazme screaming out after she discovers the dusty, dead feet of her 14-year-old brother sticking out from underneath the building. Lamentations. The hearts of the people cry out to the Lord, "O wall of the daughter of Zion, let your tears flow like a river day and night. Give yourself no relief, your eyes no rest. Arise, cry out in the night as the watches of the night begin. Pour out your heart like water in the presence of God. Lift up your hands to him for the lives of your children who faint from hunger at the head of every street. Look, O Lord, and consider, whom have you ever treated like this? Young and old lie together in the dust of the streets. My young men and maidens have fallen by the sword. You have slain them in the day of your anger. You have slaughtered them, God, without pity. The Old Testament writers did not have a problem with blaming and accusing God of bringing calamity to the people. And part of me gets that. If God is all-loving and all-powerful, then somehow, and the mystery lies in the why, but somehow, God, you brought this upon us. And there is something really important about getting to the edge of that place, which I think is still short of blasphemy, where God, I think, calls us to go. Like, with what other heart can we authentically come to God now than with a heart that gets to the close to the edge of this? Why God? And the church tries and tries again to come up with answers that always fall short. God allows pain and suffering so that we can learn. This is what a nation needs God to learn. God will one day turn it for good. Good, but what does that do for the dead? And the little girl or boy who will never have a parent as a result of this. God cries and weeps with us in our suffering. But still, God. Acts of God like this drive people away from the faith and from you. They lead us to question you, God, and be angry at you. Look, O Lord, and consider, whom have you ever treated like this? An editorial writer in Saturday's paper described Haiti as God-forsaken. Lamentations 3. He has driven me away and made me walk in darkness rather than light. Indeed, he has turned his hand against me again and again all day long. He has made my skin and my flesh grow old and has broken my bones. He has besieged me and surrounded me with bitterness and hardship. He has made me dwell in darkness like those long dead. He has walled me in so that I cannot escape. He has weighed me down with chains. Even when I call out or cry for help, he shuts out my prayer. He has barred my way with blocks of stone and made my paths crooked. He dragged me from the path and mangled me and left me without help. He has broken my teeth with gravel. He has trampled me in the dust. I have been deprived of peace, and I have forgotten what prosperity is. And so I say, my splendor is gone, and all that I had hoped for from the Lord. I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I will remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. And then the writer goes on. Yet, this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed. And that is true, that we are not consumed. And even when a nation gets hit harder than any human being could ever imagine, they are still not consumed. And God is not done writing history. And God is not done with what God has planned for his creation, for the entire cosmos and all of the brokenness and suffering and pain. And even if we created mortal, mere human beings cannot understand, God does understand